Okay, good evening to all of you. Good to see you again, you all. Today we are going to talk about the history of Australia. It's really Australia is the Australians, settled by the British settlement there, and then a few from Chinese, Dutch, and so on. What about the origin of the Australian? Okay, we're going to see the history of the Australia back to the early 900,000. Okay, actually, basically, the Australia is a occupied or land for the Aborigine of Australia, who have come from the Southeast Asia 50,000 to 65,000 years ago. They penetrate the part of the continent, rainforest, north desert, and the center of the subarctic Iceland till to Strait of Tasmania. They are the original people of the Australia. So after a short while, the what we call the Dutch traveler Torres Strait Islander was come to the Australia to find opportunities in new land called Australia. They never name it as a land, but they call it as a Southern Pacific Island. So Torres Strait Islander, okay, this is the people from the Papua New Guinea actually come to the island Australia 2005 years ago and settled in the island of Torres or Strait Cape York Peninsula and form northern majority of the people of Australia in a northern Australia. Okay, after the Aborigine people migrate from the Papua New Guinea and then Torres Strait Island, which from Papua New Guinea, they come there, Westerners. The first Westerners come to Australia is Dutch navigator, uh, which is looking for opportunity in Australia. William Jason, Spanish explorer also, come to the Australia in late 600,000, and Luis was de Torres Thomas come to the Thomas Island with the 29 Dutch migrate explore southern part of Australia. They found uh, a colony there, and in the western side of the Australia, there was a 17 Dutch navigator to explore the situation in a western coast of Australia and New Holland. Okay, and then Marcasian Trapezus was in a last explorer in Australia before the British James Cook come to Australia on 1720. Sorry, 1770 in part of Australia is called as the East Coast of Australia, in which he looking for colony to form a British colony there, and then he returned to London and favoring form a colony in Australia, what we call Botany Bay, as now known as Sydney. Okay, they call it as Botany Bay. So on 1788, Penal Colony was formed by the James Cook, the British explorer, in Botany Bay, and indigenous people felt threatened. Of course, they felt threatened. They've been infected by diseases such as malaria, cholera, and etc. Before they had a conflict with the Westerners colonizer in Botany Bay. Especially the Westerners come to the Australia, the aborigine in Australia was wiped out in direct or indirect form, in which they cannot adapt with the Western style. Okay, after a short while, there was a gold rush in 770, in which a lot of migrant from the Britain and Dutch trying to explore gold, in which can found in Australia, part of Western Australia, east coastal, and so on. So apart from that, the agriculture industry also is profitable, in which the land in Australia is a uh, can you say that good for agriculture, and it make it the people coming or migrating to Australia could be live in a prosperous way, prospecting them. So after they found the gold rush and the agriculture, they tried to form a government, a democratic government from the colonial empire such as Britain. So in 900,000, Britain given autonomous to the colony to a establish a own government, and it was in mid 1900,000 and 90,000 or 19th century. 19 colony voted to unite with Federation of Australia to form a bigger government. So this federation called as a bigger government because each colony in Australia is occupied by the Dutch settlers, the British settlers, and so on. They try to form a federation which can include all the state in Australia and can prosperous the nation altogether. So even though like that, there's a certain issues arisen when the colony people trying to explore the land in Australia. The first of all, the land of Aborigine was affected. They be given no choice to uh, claim their land, and the land simply taken away by the colony people to for the agriculture. What are the main plan they was house there is like tapioca, apart from that grapes and fruits. So as the land or soil in Australia is uh, suitable to the agriculture. So Australia is uh, now become a Britain's colony, and Australia also is a strongest ally of United States. Whichever war involved by the Britain, First World War and Second World War, Australia stand alongside with the Britain. So before that, before we ending our video, there's a second issue which is arise is most important. That is white supremacy. When it comes to the white supremacy, the Australian or the colonizer of the Australia is scared of the migration of people from India and China. They don't want migrators such as Chinese come here, show or live in a high living standard in Australia. So it might fear the Australian that they will take control the prosperity in Australia, so that they've been marginalized by the Australian. So most of the Chinese were working in a gold mine that is already hired by the Western colony, like the British. The Chinese workers is hired with the lowest salary to mine the gold in the west coast of Australia, east coastal, and so on. When it comes to the agriculture also, a few migrant from the Chinese also or Indian also was bring to the Australia, or there's in case they been migrate themselves to Australia to seeking for prosperity in new land. So what happened is, for time being, the act of immigrant was sanctioned on 1901 by the legislator of the Australia, so that can restrict or stop the immigrant from other country come to Australia to explore uh, economy or looking for new prosperity in a land of Australia. So what happened is, the law of immigrant was stopped in 1930s after Australia agreed to let the immigrant to have a good life in Australia. So even though Australia is basically is a land of Aborigine or from Papua New Guinea and certain island around the northern side of Australia, like a Torres Strait Islander, they the basic right of the Aborigine was marginalized, and the Western took over the Australia. Now the Australia became a modern Australia, and the sentiment of or the soul of the Aborigine is still there. Okay, thank you for watching, and please subscribe and share my video and comment on the comment link. Thank you.